Today, we are digging into a pretty wild celebrity controversy, but not just for the drama. We're going to use it to unpack a much bigger argument about online culture itself. So, how exactly does a simple jeans ad blow up into a national controversy? That's what we're looking at today. It all started with this American Eagle campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney, and somehow it became this massive flashpoint in a much wider cultural debate. We're going to walk through one commentator's specific take on how it all went down. All right, first things first, we got to set the stage. Let's look at the ad itself and then the very different ways people saw it, because that's where this whole story really kicks off. So the ad campaign from American Eagle, it was super simple. The slogan was this classic, kind of clever play on words. Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. You get it right? Jeans, jeans. On the surface, it's just a straightforward line trying to sell some denim. But here is where things get complicated. On one hand, you've got that simple intended message, but on the other, a really serious accusation started bubbling up from a group that the analysis we're following calls the American left. And this accusation, it totally reframed what the ad was supposedly about. So with all this brewing, what did Sydney Sweeney do? Well, that's the next piece of the puzzle. We're going to look at this strategic shift she made, going from complete silence to putting out a full-on public statement. Okay, so at first, she said nothing. The analysis really zeroes in on this initial refusal to even engage with the backlash. That quote, "When I have something to say, I'll say it," went everywhere online. And for a hot minute, people were holding it up as this bold new way to handle critics. Just don't pander. Yeah, for a little while, it really seemed like a game changer. This stance was celebrated by some as a new playbook, you know? The idea was pretty simple. If you think the criticism is in bad faith, just don't engage. Don't give it any oxygen to grow. But then, things changed. She released this formal, very PR-style statement that addressed the controversy head-on. And according to the analysis we're digging into, this was a total 180 from that original stance people had praised. And this is where the commentator calls the statement needless. Why? Well, the argument is that by even responding, she gave weight to an accusation that, in their view, was basically created out of thin air. She legitimized a connection that they believe wasn't there in the first place, effectively validating a narrative they say was just made up by critics online. So what happened after she put out the statement? Did it fix things? Well, according to this analysis, not at all. In fact, it argues that she walked right into a classic lose-lose situation. And man, this slide just lays it all out. This statement completely failed to win over her original critics. They were basically like, too late, boo. But at the same time, she alienated the people who had supported her silence. They saw it as her bowing to the woke mob. So, yeah, it's a perfect picture of the impossible spot she was in. So here's the bottom line from this perspective. The crucial point is that in trying to fix the problem, she ended up trapped right in the middle, pleasing absolutely no one. Okay, let's zoom out. The last part of this analysis uses this whole incident to make a much, much bigger point about what online outrage is really like today. So why would anyone even make a statement like this? The commentator throws out a few possible reasons. Maybe their career is struggling, maybe they actually feel guilty, or maybe they just think it's the only way to make the problem go away. But the conclusion they reach is that no matter the reason, in these kinds of fights, it never ends well for the person at the center of it. And that brings us right to the core thesis of this whole piece. The main argument is that trying to pander to or apologize to what this source calls the woke mob, well, it's pointless. It's a strategy that just doesn't work. Basically, the big takeaway here is that once an online group slaps a negative label on you, that label is like super glue. It sticks. The argument is that it doesn't matter what you say, how you apologize, or how you try to clarify things, the verdict is already in, and they're not going to change their minds. So this whole analysis really leaves us with a huge, thorny question, doesn't it? When you're in the middle of an online virus storm like this, is staying silent really the only winning move? Or is there some other path forward that we haven't even thought of yet?